Obviously, we've been tracking this at Infowars.com in the last week since Israel and their good buddy, Iran, came out and, excuse me, Freudian slip, their good buddy, Saudi Arabia, came out and said that if they don't like the peace deal that is struck in Paris, which was completed Saturday, between Iran and the West, that they're going to seriously look at attacking that country, and that Saudi Arabia has already bought and purchased and is transferring, which means they were there years ago, the weapons, nuclear weapons from Pakistan, so they can nuke Iran. And I just marvel at how good my sources are, because as you know, I've been on record saying that Saudi Arabia got nuclear weapons from the one-stop shop in the Middle East, Central Asia, Pakistan. And that Pakistan is where they reportedly got the material, but then were given the technology to cause chain reaction from the Ruskies. And I was told that by a very high-level military source and another high-level military source, and then was talking to a special warfare source that had been in a lot of really secretive operations, and they got very, very upset when I raised that and said, I don't know how you know this, but yes, Iran has the bomb, and stop talking to me about stuff like this. And was basically like, it's dangerous that you know that. And so I'm not bragging that I know this type of stuff. I don't like always having such accurate information. But it is what it is. So that's why no one said Iran, but no one wants to say they have nukes, just like Israel doesn't want to say they have nukes, or then that gives other countries the excuse to proliferate and have nuclear weapons as well. Israel has reportedly 800, according to Jane's Weapons Quarterly last time I looked. Mainline media here says 200. British news says over 400. But Jane's is based in England. They're usually the most accurate. They say upwards of 800, and that was a few years ago. I had to get into their subscription system to even get that information. You either have to buy the big quarterly book or contact them online to get information, because most of the stuff is not public knowledge. A lot of it's seen as semi-classified. But I guess that the moon is not made of cheese is classified as well. That is all coming up. And yeah, there's the World Net Daily article, Russia helping Iran accelerate nuke program with their centrifuges. But that's separate. That was back in January, that report. The centrifuges need to be up to 90% to really make a good bomb. They were up to 20%. And now this new deal says 5%. And if Iran actually follows the deal, and if the UN doesn't set them up like they did Iraq, this is a good deal. The problem is the globalists are treacherous, and they're going to try to claim Iran breaks the deal. You're like, what, are you for Iran? No, I'm for peace and not having a nuclear war. That's why the chairman of the Joint Chiefs a couple months ago went on Friday night and told Obama on that Saturday, we're not going to strike. You can't do it. Nuclear war. Top generals are threatening to resign. And Obama didn't want to let him resign over that, so he later just went after him for other issues. There's been a purge. And I'm not romanticizing the U.S. general staff, but they're not suicidal. They like to fight wars they can win. It's real simple. And the Iranians are crazy enough, folks, to launch their atomic weapons at Israel and others. And then Israel's going to bomb all of Iran. The Russians are going to respond. The Chinese, the Indians, the Pakistans. It's World War III.
Everything we said came true. Everything we've done has been right.
We have the reports right here. Iran nuclear deal. Saudi Arabia warns it will strike on its own, even without Israel. London Telegraph and brags they've secured nuclear weapons from Pakistan. And, of course, that's not going to go too well, because you just watch if this happens. The reason the Joint Chiefs have not allowed, and they're not in command, they've just threatened to quit if Obama tries to launch an attack on Iran, because the word is right around the time the last year of Bush's administration, 6.5, 7 years ago, they were completing atomic weapons and warheads, and then have now completed being able to put them on top of medium-range missiles that can hit Israel, obviously. And you want to gamble that the Iron Dome weapon anti-missile system will be able to stop them? Probably won't be able to stop them. So I'm going to just keep announcing that. You only hear it here, and if you don't believe me, that's fine. I told you Saudi Arabia had nuclear weapons. I mean, South Africa had them, and it came out later. There's many more countries have them. And, of course, India and Pakistan are the big issue. If a nuclear war starts, it's probably going to be there. That's what most analysts say. They've had a couple wars with each other over the disputed Kashmir region, and they absolutely hate each other. You see, folks, people think the Muslims hate America, and on average, they don't. They want to move here and be in a freer culture, but while still keeping their non-radical Muslim values. And many of them are great people. But you do have the radical Islam that the globalists have been funding, supporting, and putting in charge, because they don't want truly progressive, I don't mean globalist, New World Order, socialist progressive, but truly progressive societies in the Middle East. They want backwards controlled areas run by basically Bedouins that British intelligence hired in 1903 that pretty much run the whole region now. And that's what the House of Saud is. And the Muslims hate each other more than anybody else. And the Indians and Pakistans hate each other. The Hindus and the Muslims. There's a lot of groups in India, but it's the Hindus and the Muslims that are really, if you study the cultural battles, that's the big issue. That's how it is in Africa. One African tribe will hate the other African tribe right across the river. The animists will hate the Christians will hate the Muslims will hate the Christians, and people will find a reason to go rob and kill somebody. So we call it racism, and people nowadays think the only form of discrimination or abuse is racism. Racism is just a modern term for tribalism between different ethnic groups. But historically, it'd be groups of Romans before they unified what is Italy today, killing each other in hundreds of years of war, before the city of Rome ended up first conquering what is Italy. Before that, it was known as just the land of the Romans. It hadn't been known as Italy until the last 1,000 years or so. And, those guys over the hill, they're bad, we're going to kill them. Exact same genetic group. And that's what's so frustrating. We've been colonized by foreign offshore megabanks who are literally waging war against the human condition and trying to dumb us down in Europe and the U.S. and in Australia, teaching in globalist standardized tests that 2 + 2 = 5, 5 + 5 = 12, literally. Brown bags and peanut butter and jelly sandwiches are racist. So you're all just seeing all this stuff to fight about everywhere and obsessed with what color you are or what religion, instead of all of us going under a scientific dumbing down takeover. So you say, well, that's ridiculous saying peanut butter and jelly sandwiches are racist and, don't ask for them on the school menu because it hurts Hispanic children's feelings. That's meant to get the Hispanics going, yeah, I am offended by a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. So we're all fighting with each other when we would all just really be getting along. It was Christians and good people who came together to end the last 500 years of ethnic slavery. Because 500 years ago, there were big struggles in Europe predominantly, whites who did not want to be slaves anymore to other whites. They called it feudalism. So as feudalism fell out in the last 500 years, they said, okay, well, we've got to turn somewhere else. We'll just literally send our ships to the western coast of Africa, grab people, and take them to slave plantations all over the Caribbean to produce sugar cane to make rum to ship back to Europe. And there were big fights and cities burned down in Europe. If you go back 500, 400, 300 years ago, over ending slavery. It wasn't like it was some debate that just started with the North versus the South. Look it up, there were anti-slavery riots burning major cities in Europe over the African slave trade, ladies and gentlemen. Because they had just gone through it there. They estimate that millions of Christians died in different religious wars, with Catholics killing Protestants and Protestants killing Catholics. Just went on and on and on. And wars in the Netherlands and 5 or 6 giant wars in England and huge wars in France. See, there's all this real history. And I'm not lessening slavery here. It's terrible. The point is, it's like it's the only human experience they teach when it's perpetual. It's the same story over and over again. And now we're going into slavery to the New World Order. They're poisoning our food, poisoning our water, destroying our dollar, going after our families, deindustrializing us, and teaching people the oppression is peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, that oppression is brown bags, that oppression is saying mother and father. That's hurtful to gays. This is total cultural overwrite with a plastic, fake, globalist culture that wants you to be one thing. Absolutely alone with no community, but also not an individual, because then you see the television as your friends and the plastic culture as your fake community. They have to destroy real community and real communitarianism to then bring in a false communitarianism. They have to destroy true sustainability, being able to take care of yourself, and bring in a false sustainability that actually makes your life unsustainable and has a lot of trappings that sound reasonable. It's so sophisticated how they do this. Now, here's what's coming up today. Obviously, nuclear Iran deal. Saudi Arabia warns it will strike out on its own. That is big, big news. We told you this for years. It's already started in Europe. Now it's starting here. I've told you this probably 1,000 times that this is the real sign. Financial Times of London, top financial paper in the world. U.S. banks warn Fed interest rate cut could force them to charge for depositors. That is devaluation of the currency. That is Weimar beginnings. And then once it starts speeding up, folks, it's warp speed. Now, they've depressed the economy to try to balance out that they're actually inflating the currency. Oh, man, I tell you, it's so sophisticated what they're doing. And there's no way they're going to be able to keep control of it, no matter how many computerized frauds they've got. So we're going to be breaking all of that down. This is the lineup for some really crazy stuff to happen. Also, Paul Watson's joining us at the bottom of the hour. Huge breaking news on Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com. France planned false flag attack in Britain. Intelligence services considered assassinating Muslim leader and then blaming neo-Nazis. And this is in the major German, French papers, but it's not been picked up anywhere other than that yet. This is breaking in the English-speaking press at Infowars.com. It's also being reported in Israel, so I guess that's English-speaking there as well. But the point is that this is up on Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com. Paul Watson is going to be joining us. He can finally talk about his book and what really happened, some of what really happened inside the White House. Mr. Bongino, the Secret Service agent, is going to be joining us for 30 minutes at the start of the next hour.
I'm Darren McBreen, and these are some of the new items that are available now at InfoWarsShop.com.
Alert the public to Obama's blatant abuse of power with the new Obama t-shirt. Obama's Joker face on the front and come and take it on the back. It's time to publicly call him out for what he is, a tyrant. Defend the Second Amendment with our top seller Come and Take It t-shirts. And look at that, women's cut tank tops and t-shirts now available. Nice hat. Plus the Don't Tread on Me flag. And now you can become a micro distributor of the InfoWars magazine. Plus, get your own copy delivered right to your door each and every